I wanted to know whether it's possible to run a sub 1 hour 15 half marathon and powerlift 440 kilograms in 6 hours. If you haven't yet watched that video, I'll give you a few seconds to watch it because there's going to be spoiler alerts in this video. 13.1 miles in 1 hour, 17 minutes and 47 seconds. This was my first time competing as a hybrid athlete. So after I finished 39th out of 13,000 runners, I was straight to the gym to try and powerlift 440 kilograms between squat, bench press and deadlift. This was my hardest challenge of my life. In this video, I'm going to be going over what I thought of the Hackney Half Marathon, would I recommend it to you, and ultimately what lessons did I learn overall from the day. Before discussing my own flaws and what I could have done better in a race and analysing my running splits and my lifts in a little bit more detail, I'm going to go over the course and what I thought about the race overall. When I arrived, I was surprised at how big the event was. I take it not everyone there was running because there just seemed to be thousands and thousands and thousands of people. There was only 13,266 runners, even though there were other races over the course of the weekend. But the place was so vibey. I mean, coming out of East London, it should be pretty vibey. That's what you pay your money for. It was basically like a festival-like atmosphere. The course, honestly, it was really good. It's the type of course where you could get a personal best. I was very gutted I didn't get my own personal best. The crowd, the atmosphere was brilliant. As you going around the course, it was roasting. Everyone running in front of me was just trying to stick to the sides of the roads because it was that hot. I think it was about 23 degrees on the day itself, but you're not really used to that because all of my training runs were done at like cool autumn and spring temperatures, where this was kind of like a summer's day in England. So it was a little bit unusual because I haven't been training like that. After the race, I'm going to be honest with you, I got a free beer and a tote bag full of goodies, and I just wanted to sit down, have a beer in the sun, eat some food. There were a load of food vans and stuff there because it was an absolute vibe after it. But because my lifts, I had to go off, and I thought, I don't really want a beer now. I didn't feel like I achieved everything yet. I didn't want my mind to start getting weak or perhaps in celebratory mode too soon before I'd done my lifts. I still had work to do personally. But if you were just running that as a half marathon, that would be a brilliant half marathon to run, without doubt. One of the best, I feel like, in the UK. That would be just purely because of the vibes. Like, you get to go out in East London after the race, but that field in Hackney Marshes, it was just full of music, live DJ sets, food, and overall I think it was like 50 something pounds for the actual race entrance fee. And once you enter the race next year, you automatically get a free entry, I believe. Whether that was just because of the time I got, I don't know if I got that because of that, but I did get offered a free entry next year, so I'll no doubt be doing it next year as well. It was a really fun race. I highly recommend it to anyone. Okay, I've covered the course. Now we can get onto my own results as a race. If you followed my channel for numerous videos, you might be aware that my half marathon time is 1 hour 17 minutes and 29 seconds. This one was 1 hour 17 and 47. There are a few factors that ultimately made me run a slower time. I started the run too quick because I was trying to get sub 1 hour 15 and I couldn't keep that pace up. So I was running fast at the start, and then when the temperature and everything got a hold of me, I just couldn't run at that pace. I knew after about 8 to 10k that I was done. I couldn't hold that pace, so I had to set myself new goals, and I had a few slow splits within the mid part of the run, and it was ultimately the hardest race mentally I've ever had to run because I went out too quick, and I've never done that before. But now I know what that feels like. Even though I ran a slower time, I don't think I've got slower as a runner. I think my race tactics just weren't very smart, weren't very good. I think on that day I could have ran at least, I would say, 90 seconds to 2 minutes faster if my race tactics were better. Even though the times I've been getting on my last few races are within the top 0.5% of runners, it's still on my mind that I don't have a lot of running experience. I only started running in lockdown in COVID, so there's going to be mistakes that I make and I need to learn myself. Ultimately, it's just feeling what my body is capable of. In this training, this was the first one that I did as a hybrid athlete, so I was running and lifting probably 5 to 6 days a week, doing double sessions back to back. Within my current schedule, balancing work and my training. I didn't want to run before work, so I just ran and then went in the gym, or I went in the gym and then ran straight after, depending on the intensity of my run on that particular workout day. I would run before I lifted on my faster run days, and then I'd lift before I run if I was just doing an aerobic run and perhaps I wanted to focus more on my heavy lifts. Mainly squat and deadlifts, to be honest. I would do that before my runs, so I would plan my weekly schedule out. So on my slower run days will be the deadlifts and the squats, and then on my faster run days I would do perhaps bench press, other body exercises like shoulders, or perhaps even core on those particular days. And I wouldn't train on either my track workouts or my long run days. I wouldn't go in the gym as well. It was very difficult though, because I'm balancing two disciplines that completely contradict each other. So for powerlifting, I would be a much stronger lifter if I didn't run, for example, because I'd be able to put on more body weight. But I don't want to put on too much muscle mass, because obviously the more muscle mass you have, the more oxygen your body requires. However, I have got a lot stronger without putting on much more muscle mass, and I'll go over in another video exactly how you can do that if you're interested. But ultimately my running training was hindered because of the muscle soreness. There's only so much your body can do, and the amount of times I had massages, and within a week I felt like I needed a complete new massage. I had a few injuries in the training run as well. I had a calf strain, so overall it was a little bit of a janky training period, and one where I was ultimately learning about this process myself through my own interest of being the most physically functional version of myself. So I don't just want to be the quickest runner, because if I'd wanted to do that I'd lose a lot of muscle mass. That way my body wouldn't require as much oxygen, and ultimately I could get quicker that way. And again, just to be the best power lifter, you don't really want to do too much cardio. You want to build up your body so you're getting more weight, and then ultimately you can train so you're not exerted and you can lift more in the gym on a daily basis. But again, balancing between the two, I had to find a happy medium. Okay, so I reverted to my laptop here where I'm going to go over the race, because there's a story to be had. Honestly, I had a little bit of bad luck, so I'm going to go in my activities here just so I can show you exactly what happened. Sunday the 22nd of May, ran it with 39 people, so shout out them man there. And as you can see, I only ran 14.4k, and the reason for that was my pace started messing up on my watch. It was starting to say I was running 5 minutes 50 average kilometers, things like that. And this happened a couple of times on my pace runs, and when I restarted my watch it started working completely fine. But then on the run, I don't know if it was the temperature or what, my watch just had it. I reset it and then it wasn't working whatsoever. So 14.4 kilometers at 3 minutes 44 average kilometer, and I finished on 3 minutes 42. So I gained up some time on the last 6-7k, something like that, where I was actually increasing my pace. And I was very fortunate, because the last 5 to 6k I actually found like a running group where we're all running a similar pace. They actually left me towards the end, if I'm honest, these people that I was with. After I spoke to them, I finished about 20 seconds in front of me. Going over my splits, so the first kilometer here is 3 minutes 27. So basically the time I was going for was around 3 minutes 35. So 3 minutes 27 was too quick. Going off at the start of the race, my first time racing within the elite running group, there was a pacing car in front of us, and I think I just got a little bit, carried away. Everyone was running quickly at the start of the race. So that was a quick first kilometer, and as you can see, the first 5k I was on pace. 3 minutes 35, 3 minutes 35, 3 minutes 36, 3 minutes 33. So again, really consistent apart from that first quick kilometer. So I was really enjoying my race then. And then around 6k, I had a 3 minute 45 and another 3 minute 45 at 7. And then I think I snapped back into action at 8. But the reason why I'm going through these quickly, as you see the elevation, it's going downhill on all of these pretty much, apart from the 27 meter rise in elevation on the 3 minute 25 kilometer, which is kind of mad really. But I guess I was fresh, had the adrenaline, the sugars in form of an energy gel just going around my system. But then this is when I just really started to drop off on a couple of them. So what's crazy is this 3 minute 52 here. So after 10k, so it was around 8k, like I said, 10k to 8k, I was like, I'm done here. So 3 minute 46 at 11, but I knew I had a couple 4 minute kilometers, so 12 and 14. I was really struggling. Even at 3 minutes 55, just way off pace. And then I just started to get back into action on this 400 meters before my watch glitched out again. This was just ultimately where my head was just really struggling. It was hot, and the inner chatter in my head was so high. I think because ultimately I started to race too quickly. But these couple kilometers, like the one in 12 and 14 as well, it's crazy because normally the backside of my runs are the quickest ones. So I won't deliberately do negative splits or try and hold a consistent pace throughout the run, and all my tempo runs I'll do to that pace that I'm trying to hold, which I did for this one. But I got too carried away where I ran too quick at the start, and also my expectations were too high. But the last few kilometers of the run, again, I would have been around 3 minutes 40, so I made it up after these. But those couple kilometers literally saved me from a personal best. If I would have ran 3:45 on 2 of them, I'd have a personal best on my hands. But those 2 kilometers were really slow, and especially 9, 10 as well, and 13. So it was a really strange run. I ran quick at the start, and then the middle part of the run I kind of like did a bit of a hiccup, the middle to late part of the run, and the late part of the run I was strong again. But that middle part of the run, it was like I had to get my energy back to finish strong. I'd just gone too quick, whereas if I felt like I was more conservative at the start and I'd ran more continuous pace, I could have hit the gas pedal, so to speak. And the last few kilometers of the run, the last 5k, my last personal best was a 3 minutes 25 kilometer, I believe I averaged for the last bit, and I was running around 3 minutes 45 to 3 minutes 40 for the first 16 kilometers. So a lot to learn really is just don't go off too quick. First time this ever happened to me, like when I was younger and I used to run in school, I'd always be nervous about going off too quick. So it's something I've never really done. This is the first time it happened. It was one where I really had to dig deep in my mental toughness. I felt like my brain was like going weak, and I just had to compose myself after this couple kind of few kilometers and remind myself all the hard work I'd done, and just try and think about things that are going to motivate me for that last part of the run where I'm in my ego. And this was a real ego battle in that mid part of the run. I was really struggling, and then you're getting all these things as a YouTuber or a content creator, you're like, I need to run quick because I'm making a video about this, so I don't want to make myself look like a tit. So it was just like this part of the run where I had to compose myself and go again. But yeah, a lot to learn from the run. But now let's go and have a little look at some of my lifts and what perhaps I could have done better or learned from those. Analysing my lifts, I was very surprised because pretty much the opposite happened of what I thought. I thought my squats would be hugely affected from obviously my legs being fatigued from running a race just a few hours before, but my squats were absolutely fine. I didn't feel like I'd lost any strength in my legs whatsoever. A little bit of mobility issues, so I was rolling out and stretching before I lifted. My food in preparation of the day with the carb load and getting in enough electrolytes so I wasn't cramping in the gym, eating straight away, getting in sugars and fats before I lifted over the course of a few days and in between my run and my lifts as well. I was very pleased with all of that, and I actually feel like my preparation in terms of nutrition couldn't have been any better, if I'm honest. My squats felt absolutely like I didn't feel like I'd lost any strength in my legs, which was a huge surprise. I actually almost got a personal best, 142 kilos, which I just failed on. I got 140 kilos, which matched my personal best in squats. But my bench press, there was no surprises, however, because I just lifted what I thought I could lift. I matched my personal best of 110 kilos. I failed on 112 kilos, but I knew that my chest wasn't going to be that affected from my training runs. I was never really affected in my chest. But the one that I was most surprised about was the deadlifts, and now it makes complete sense, but it was a little bit of an overlook on my side. I didn't quite see the potential of what would happen. I couldn't lift a bar off the floor. So for example, 175 kilos, I could do that for 2. 170 kilos, I could do that for 3. And I only managed to do 170 kilos for 1 rep. I tried 190 because my personal best is 185, and my deadlift is honestly the one I had most confidence in. But talking about the mobility thing, I could really tell, because I personally like to sumo deadlift. I'm much stronger there. It's a shorter lift, and I think being a shorter guy, and depending on where your hip joints are, depending on where that is, you might find a normal deadlift better for you. For me personally, I'm much stronger in a sumo. So I tried doing a sumo deadlift, but because obviously a deadlift is huge on your hamstrings and the glutes in the initial part of the lift, especially if you're doing a sumo, the glutes are a little bit more engaged. However, obviously from the run, my glutes and hamstrings were so fatigued that I just had no strength from the start, but also my mobility. So if my muscles were relaxed, I could have got in a more powerful position from the get-go. But because I was so tight from the run, I was having to do a lot of the lifts with my back and hamstrings. Like, I couldn't get over and underneath the bar where I could do my leg press at the start of the lift. I was just bending over, and it was basically almost like a straight leg deadlift from a sumo stance. It wasn't pretty, and when I look back at the technique, I cringe a little bit, but ultimately there's nothing more I could have done because I didn't foresee just how it would affect my deadlift. Now, if I would have done the deadlift first, so I did it in squat, bench and dead, but if I would have done the deadlift first, I wonder how different that would have been. I perhaps think that maybe I could have got another 5 kilos out, but I don't think it would have made that much difference, because ultimately I was feeling tight when I did the squats. Even though I did the stretching and rolling out, there's obviously so much you can do. I'm fighting a losing battle from the run earlier, but it was a good eye-opening experience for me, and actually really enjoyed the day. That's the end of the video. If you're a hybrid athlete like me, it sounds a little bit pretentious to, you know, identify as a hybrid athlete, but if you found value in the video, drop it a like, consider subscribing if you're new, so we can, you know, maybe shoot the in the comment section as hybrid athletes going at it. I'll see you guys next week.